Um, Kim is a full-time lost cat tracker. Kim has 9 years of practice finding missing cats and the dirt under her nails to prove it, combining missing persons profiling with animal tracking, bird language, and the science of lost cat recovery, solving cases in 48 states and 17 countries. Her mission is getting cats found before they end up in shelters, and she's created a video on how to do it. Because cats need special techniques tailored to feline psychology, Kim's search guides teach humans new, better ways to recover lost cats. And one part of that is dispelling the memes, myths, and old wives' tales that do more harm than good. When Kim gets a call to come search for an escaped kitty, she gathers her gear, traps on the knee pads, and loads up her search partner, Henry, the first cat ever trained to scent track missing cats. In order to keep up with Henry during a case, Kim developed a tiny collar camera to watch Henry search in spaces she cannot access. Kim and Henry can be found on their website, lostcatfinder.com, and seen in action on their YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok pages. Also, Kim, I'm just going to mention too, you let me know whenever you want me to run your poll questions during your presentation also.
Stacy, this has been great. I feel like I have found my people. I've felt, alone in the wilderness since 2012, trying to, preach the connection between lost cats and return to home and lowering numbers in shelters. So this has been fantastic. I especially appreciate all the work that Corinne is doing. She has a great program, and I'm so glad that they're renting out traps and giving people moral support. That's huge. I have, getting lost cats home is my passion, but it's also my full-time job. And I guess I started doing this in 2012, and I wanted to have a bloodhound. I wanted to get a bloodhound to track lost cats, but bloodhounds, a cat feels hunted by a dog coming on its tail. They just get pushed further away. So around 2013, I was at an adoption event, and I met this cat out on this grassy knoll, laying in his purple harness, and I just got really intrigued at the idea of teaching a cat to do tracking, like bloodhounds do. So this is how I met my sidekick and silent partner, Henry. And I don't know if y'all can see my webcam, but this is him in the background.
There he is.
Henry just turned 20, and he is not doing well. So I want to dedicate this presentation to him. And I want to show a little video of him in action. And, it also kind of introduces the work that I do. So Kristen, can you play that? So yes, Henry is my partner, and I'm going to miss him terribly. He'll be with us maybe another day. So I'm Kim Freeman, and I'm here to talk about returning cats to home and decreasing intake. So this is one of my first cat recoveries. I just love this picture. This one's just dear to my heart because it was back in 2012. So here's a little bit about my background. I was trained with Missing Pet Partnership, which is now defunct. It's kind of changed over the years. That was in 2008. And then I worked for a while at doing PASS stands for positive alternatives to shelter surrender. That was at Awesome Pets Alive. About 20 years of clicker training horses and cats. I've had some courses in mammal tracking, which has helped me a lot with lost cats, and specifically studied the science of lost cat behavior. This is what helps me find cats. This is useful because so many different types of cats behave differently when they're displaced or lost. So that is my now full-time job, is lost cat search and rescue. So my goal is get cats found before they end up in shelters, which is pretty much the whole topic of today. This started in 2008 when I lost my own cat, and I realized the extreme stress of it, and how little support you get, bad advice. So I went on to help others as a full-time. I quit my day job and I was like, I'm just going to search for lost cats. So fast forward to 2014, and I was at a tracking dog training camp. It was held at a shelter, and during one of the breaks, we were walking past, and I saw raccoons and cats that were assumed to be feral, gassed in these little boxes together. And I believe that is illegal now, but at the time, I was shocked, and I asked them how they knew that these were feral cats, and they just said, "Oh, we just know. We just know." So that's kind of the day I made the connection between lost cats who are terrified at a shelter, in a trap, or just at the shelter, and preventing euthanasia. That's where I made kind of the connection. So as far as presentation, I am going to talk about new methods to help shelters and owners. So some of these slides we've really covered. Other people have covered very well. So I'm just going to buzz through a lot of those. Stray cats, I detest that term. I wish there were no such term as stray cats. But it's in general 75% of the shelter population considered strays. And for years, it was 2-3%. I think we're up to 5% return to owner, return to home now. So this at one time was the typical outcome for cats. I'm so glad to see it is changing. But euthanasia used to represent about 71% of the outcomes. So, that to me says that the typical focus on TNR, fosters, and adoption is just not enough. So here are some numbers just to look at the amount of cats that are lost and not found, and what it adds up to, hypothetically. So why? Why are so few cats found? So, I wish it were this easy. You put a box out and the cats show up. I wish it were that simple. So seriously, why is it so few of these cats are found? The typical owner is panicked. They don't know what to do, and they just don't understand best practices. They don't know how to go about searching, and they're not at their best. They're not thinking rationally. Combine that with all the myths and misconceptions, and you end up with people following bad advice, and when it doesn't work, they just give up. Now, for some reason, people tend to give up sooner on a lost cat than they do a lost dog. They also tend to get a lot less support from the community. So here's some of the myths people tend to believe. Now, not people at shelters, but owners generally. A lot of people think that a microchip will track their cats if their cat is chipped, and that someone's just going to call them when their cat shows up. It's like magical thinking. Many people think their cat will come when they call or shake treats, because they always do in the house. The litter box thing, everyone's heard. They think that putting a litter box out will get the cat to return. Some people think their cat was stolen, which is pretty rare, or killed by a coyote. Every single lost cat case that I have had, somebody, when I'm out searching, is going to say, well, there's coyotes around here. And I hate to hear that, because, well, and then I push them on. Oh, really? Have you seen one? When was it? Where was it? Because when the owner hears that, they're likely to give up. Oh, okay, I guess a coyote, and then they just stop searching. So, huge pet peeve when people bring up coyotes. Other things people assume is that their cat wandered off to die. That's another old myth. We talked about the coyotes, and some people think it was a hateful neighbor dumped their cat. And again, the end result is they just give up. People get discouraged, and friends and family say, "Oh, I know it's tough, but you got to just move on." And we're talking like 3 or 4 days after cats. Part of that is grief avoidance. People want to just give up and avoid the pain of the continued search. It is extremely stressful. And they follow lost dog advice. And everybody knows, when you have a lost dog, you put up posters, you go to the shelter. It doesn't work for cats. They follow this advice and they give up when the kitty is not found. So this ends up around 500,000 cats who are lost that are never found. So I think all of us are pretty aware that people are not coming to the shelters to reclaim them. And here's my theory on why. Here's why it's this mismatch. First, cat owners have this wait and see mentality. A lot of them don't even start searching for 3 days. They think, oh, they'll be back. They'll be back. After typically 2 weeks, they give up and just quit the search, making the assumptions we talked about before. So here's an example. This is a kitty named Petra. She was lost in January, and by February, the owner had given up and presumed that she was dead. This was out in Dripping Springs, Texas, and yes, there are coyotes out there, but essentially the owner gave up in 1 month. I found her, actually, Henry helped me find this kitty 8 months later. We found her in December, and she had been just like living off the land, only 1,200 feet from her house. So, that's probably not atypical for a lost cat, this whole scenario. So what happens to the cats? The friendlies generally get brought to the shelter. Oh, this kitty was following me. But the ferals typically can get absorbed into the community cat population. So we've talked about this on the reclaim rate. Dogs get it pretty good. Shelter's system works pretty well for dogs, but not so good for cats. And we end up with overcrowded shelters. So let's solve this sort of vicious cycle. I want to present some new ways to get cats home. It needs to be tailored to cats, species specific. It needs to be super easy to implement. Shelters are overworked and they've got their hands full of so many different things. And of course, it needs to be inexpensive or free. So I'm sure everyone here, I'm going to go through this quick, knows why it's time to focus on return to home, reduce care, stress, illness. Whoops, maybe I went too fast through that. Should have taken out this. Anyway, a lot of times with reunion stories, the media picks them up, and all of a sudden the shelters are getting donations. So these positive stories are so helpful in so many ways. This is an early example of what I consider a shelter superhero. This was Marin, and in 2009, they were down around the average 2%, 3%, and in just 5 years, they took it up to 32. And this was in 2014, before anybody was really looking at return to home programs. And I'll talk about how they did it later, but for now, know that they just used one staff member did this, and they increased for dogs, increased as well, but cats went up to 32%. So I want to focus on prevention. It's not a sexy topic, but it works. So, and I just love these cat pinup things. So here's, not sexy, but we love it. So cats are complex. Generally, a lost cat is going to hide, whereas a lost dog will roam out in public. People put up flyers, and most people don't really know how to do flyers. That's something else I want to talk about. But a lot of times the flyers just sort of get rained on and fall apart, whereas the dogs are roaming, people see them, they get calls, and they're reunited. And part of the problem is that cats behave so much differently when they're displaced. The cat that comes running when the treat jar comes out at home is not going to do that outside. They've never been out before. Displaced cats hide in silence. Their personality determines how long. Indoor outdoor is going to be a different case. You would not approach those two searches in the same way. A lot of it depends, are there other cats around? Is there wildlife around? And people, feel like it's kind of like if you lose your phone. If I look hard enough, I'll find it. Well, that's true for a phone, but cats move and they evade noise, even if it's their owner. They're just like, oh my God, something big is coming. So it's very hard to sneak up on a cat, and aggressive search techniques a lot of times just don't work. They push the cat further away. So here is the typical lost cat situation. Here's the way I see it play out. The cat is lost. Owner puts up the flyers, and they do all the social media. They go to the shelter, tell all the vets. A month later, meanwhile, the cat is hiding unseen by anybody and evading noise. A month later, the social media stuff is buried. Craigslist expires ads after 45 days. The flyers get destroyed or pulled down by HOA. And for some reason, real estate agents, I see real estate agents on my trail cams pulling signs down. I guess they don't want potential buyers to think, oh, if I move here, my cat might get lost. And then the owner gets pushed to give up by friends and family, and they just give up. They stop going to the shelter. Finally, and this is just typical, but around 2 months later, a cat will get hungry and desperate enough to come up to a person or be seen, hanging around. And the finder eventually gets worried enough that they start looking around. I wonder if someone's looking for this cat. But by then, the ads are gone or buried, and they think, well, no, I guess nobody's missing this cat, so I'll take it to the shelter, or I'll keep it, or I'll rehome it. So here is the new system I want to talk about, and it's something that works with the cat's timing. And thank you, Dr. Kate Hurley, for this slide. So this system is a 3-point partnership, three-point program. So number one is public education. We have to teach the owners how to find their cat. We can't expect the shelter to educate every person that walks in saying, is my cat here? So public education is key. Nobody is really interested in finding lost pets until it happens to them. So we need to give them a way to learn it instantly, quick crash course. Second part is a shelter volunteer, or 2 or 3. And the third is the owner follow-up. And that needs to be automated because, like I said, they give up so easily. So who does what? There were the recovery education, best practices, I have a online instant download system that teaches people, how to use traps, how to search, each cat personality. So that's the instant education. If they get that from a shelter, they can, hit the ground running with the right search techniques. Then at the shelter, a volunteer would take the report, and we've seen some great examples. Monica had a good one of intakes, and also we've seen lost cat reports, and then monitoring. We'll talk about that in more detail, how that works, but that's up to the owner. So the point here is, I want the system to be something that does not lay a whole bunch of extra work on the staff. One volunteer could easily handle all of this. So we're going to give owners the access to best practices, and we're going to track lost cat reports sorted by category, match them with intakes, obviously, and then distribute emails to the owners who have signed up for this auto alert system that I'm going to talk about. So I got the idea for this when I was in Austin. Monica Dangler said to me, back when I was, first doing this work, if only owners had access to better search methods instead of all these stupid old wives' tales. And so I wrote this booklet that was, an e-booklet for cat owners so that they could use my research into simple methods for recovering the cat. And of course, it's based on a lot of lost cat behavior research. So these are the guides that I put together. A lot of people don't even want to skim an ebook. They just want a video that shows them how to do stuff. So I made both. And basically, they're focused on the science of lost cat behavior, but it's translated to be a very simple, I'm sorry, I'm distracted by Henry, a simple, easy to assimilate, understand. So it breaks it down into cat personalities, recovery strategies for each one, the myths and mistakes. And I am proud to say that as of last year anyway, this has been successful in 17 countries to get cats found in 17 countries. And I've made it an instant download at my website, Lost Cat Finder. So on the litter box meme, I don't know if this is the one most of you have seen. This one was going around for, I don't know, the last 3 years. And there you go, Henry. So this is the one I see the most. And this one, I just can't believe how much this gets passed around. First of all, just the idea of the litter box outside as being something that the cat is interested in more than their own house, but can smell it from a mile away. I mean, a bloodhound can't smell a bucket of blood from a mile away. It's just preposterous. To me, this is like, just put your toilet outside if your kid gets lost. It's just ridiculous. Now, I know people have said, well, but I tried it and it worked. Well, in a lot of cases, the cat comes home despite the litter box, not because of it. They were going to come home anyway. A sack of potatoes would have worked just as well as a litter box. One of the reasons that I discourage this whole litter box thinking and meme is because I have seen on my trail cameras dirty litter boxes attract raccoons and coyotes and the cat across the street who wants to know who's this new intruder. They're going to come and spray the litter box. But, worst of all, you do not want to attract coyotes in. So the video tutorial, here's some things that it covers: how to use traps, places people need to be searching. Over the years, I've collected a lot of data on where cats are found, which type of cat is found in which type of area, and the timeline between lost and found. Questions to ask neighbors, how to make a map. There's a lot of things covered in the book and the video. And then I also have a Spanish version so that, everybody has access to these materials. I also have this hard copy, which is on Amazon, which I don't know if that's an idea that shelters could just sell this when someone comes in looking for their lost cat and it's not at the shelter, sell them this book for $5 or point them to it. The cover on Amazon is different than the one on my website. So as a recap, educating using the search guides, volunteer managing the reports, and the owner being auto-updated. So here's what I would love to see, and I think Corinne is already doing this, but when someone comes in looking for their cat, give them a contact sheet. Give them a sheet that's got a way for them to contact all the rescue groups, Facebook pages. Here's where you should be posting. Even, Alley Cat Allies has the Feral Friends. Give them, some TNR people who manage colonies, and let them give them an alert. If my cat shows up at your colony, please call me. The link to the online materials, how to find a missing cat. Front Street does have a video that's, 6 minutes long, but to me that is just not nearly enough information. And it's kind of boiled down into a cookie cutter that can be misleading if people don't use it right. That video was kind of based on highlights from my book, so I think my materials are a lot more useful. I would love to see shelters loan out or rent humane traps. I think that should be part of the shelter program. And, I don't know if Tomahawk does this, but for a while, True Catch was donating traps to shelter programs. And filling out a lost cat report. This is where the owner signs up for this auto alert email. And the reason this is key is this is Jessica from Marin. She's the superhero I was talking about earlier. She would sort them by male, female, and then color. So really, you just had 3 categories. They didn't get into breed or hair. It's just that simple. And then she would hold on to the reports, either online or at the time she was using binders. This was quite a while ago. So here's the owner auto alert system that I would love to see. When the owner comes in and they fill out the report, they sign up to receive these auto alerts. The shelter groups their intake photos by male and female, and then 2 group emails are sent out each day. So if you signed up for this when your cat was lost, you get these emails. And so, this way, 2 months later, when this is an example from Austin, when the cat's face finally shows up at the shelter, or 3 months or whatever it is, the owner doesn't have to go to the shelter searching every day and being disappointed over and over. It's delivered to their inbox, and they can go, that's my cat, after all that time. So it's kind of an automated system that keeps the owner in the loop so that they kind of can't give up. I guess they could unsubscribe, but I've never seen anyone do that because there's always the chance that tomorrow their cat's face may show up on the intake. So let's talk about decreasing intake without the typical rescue groups and fosters. So goal is fewer cats. We talked about prevention. Something I saw that works well in Austin is owner surrenders by appointment only. And while they're waiting for their appointment, you send someone out. This is what I used to do kind of pre-Jackson Galaxy days. Go to the home, see the situation, and help solve the issue. Now, a lot of times it's litter box, but it can be other things as well. But seeing it in the home is so much more useful than trying to just coach somebody on the phone. So I think we all know these numbers. All this has kind of been covered. This is an example of something that they did in Austin and also San Jose. This is one of the really early, I think this might have been 2013, that they did this. they would leave these door hangers. So this is a quote from the guy who ran the shelter. And, the pushback people got at first, but they just kind of quietly went on about it. And it has, it has gone really well. I think they were kind of a pioneer in RTF. All right, so now let's talk about microchips. I would say 1 in 10 of my lost cat cases, the owner has to fill out this profile. It's about 10 pages of information I need for clues to assess what happened to the cat. And one of the questions is your cat microchipped? I'm going to say 1 in 10 are. It's amazing to me that more people don't chip their cats. And I always ask why, and these are the main reasons I get. It's a hassle to get them into the carrier. I didn't want to go to the vet just for that. Or I was going to do it next time we went to the vet. A lot of people say they don't need it because their cat never goes out, and they were gonna. And of course, I'm sorry, I just never thought he'd get out. So microchips are people chip their dogs all the time, but not their cats. And because chips cost so little, I see this as a huge insurance policy that shelters could use by offering free chips to cat owners. Now, a lot of shelters are doing free chips. They'll have a free chip day, but nobody, just like with the vet, nobody wants to pack up their cat in a carrier and take them to this big, loud public outing to get their cat chipped. So my suggestion, what I would love to see maybe one day, is having a in-home free microchips just for cats. The dog people can drive their dog somewhere to get chipped, but I would love to see this procedure offered in-home. Maybe not until COVID is solved a little better, but this was, this slide is from 2017, way before COVID. I would love to see a van dedicated to returning cats back to their home, but also maybe one day a week, people sign up in various zip codes or on Nextdoor to get the in-home chipping. And right? Oh, then I may need to go. So I want to encourage shelters to celebrate their reunions publicly. This makes, everybody feels better. It gets media attention. It's just a win-win in every direction. What I do is post my stories and my reunions, and excuse me, this helps the current owners, the people I'm working with, so that they don't give up. They read these stories and they get inspired and they go, oh, that's like my cat. That's like my situation. And each of these stories is a little different. You have to tweak your approach to, not only the scenario of how the cat was lost, but what's their personality, what time of year is it, all of these kind of things. So to recap, we want to educate the owners, give them an instant, quick way to understand how to search. I think offering a link on a lost and found page or on a resources page is a good way to do that. Keep the owner involved via email, return the healthy strays, owner surrender appointments with in-home coaching and in-home microchipping. I think this would be a complete and fabulous program to improve return to home. This is from a shelter in Austin who added a link to my website so that owners could see that, as well as just a few tips. So in addition to my search guides, I also still do lost cat search and rescue. There's Henry. We used to go out together and search for lost cats. And then the profiling. I still do a lot of all over the world profiling and coaching for people. And, like Corinne said, moral support is huge. And after people have read the guides, they still need some custom advice.
So here we are with Kim's presentation. And as she said, a lot of the things that were talked about, some of the things were mentioned earlier. If you are interested in contacting Kim, though, you do have all of her contact information there.